Hi, I'm Miranda, and this is my classroom management. A couple words that describe my management style, or phrases, I guess, include helping, controlling the classroom, willingness to learn, support and safety, and love are just a few of these phrases and words that I pulled out of my philosophy paper. I am a medium low control teacher. I feel like I relate to William Glasser's and Van Funk's theories a lot just because both of them kind of talk about helping students understand what certain consequences are, and Van Funk especially talk about like love and logic, and so like helping the students understand why things are happening but loving them at the same time. A few things that I think are really important are sharing control in the classroom with the student and the teacher, just so that the students feel like they have more of a say, and then they're more willing to learn if they have more of a say in what is going on in the classroom. So the teachers have a responsibility to help facilitate the choices that the students are making and guide their learning, while the teachers have a responsibility to just kind of make choices and be aware of their behaviors and their consequences. I want to have a democratic classroom where the students have lots of opportunities to share their ideas with the class and their opinions, and help to facilitate their own learning. Some ways that this will happen is through classroom meetings, where if there's a problem, students can come and we can do a classroom meeting, and these will be student run, and we can talk about different things and maybe change how things are happening in the classroom. We'll also have lots of class jobs where the students will be able to do things, simple things like passing out papers and sharpening pencils, but as well as helping the teacher, being like a teacher's assistant or group leader, things like that. They'll also have lots of choices as far as like assignments go, like with what kinds of assignments they want to do, and different kinds of assessments so I can know what they are learning. There are also just have a lot of student voice. I'll make sure to take into account their opinions and their ideas into the classroom, and when it comes down to it, I'll have the control over what ends up happening, but the students will vote and give me their ideas and things like that, and I'll just be able to help facilitate that. As far as motivation goes, I want to be more intrinsic with motivation, just because I feel like this helps the kids learn basic skills for being motivated for the rest of their lives. And so just kind of teaching like basic things like why it's important to be respectful, why it's important to be helpful, things like that are good motivators for the kids, because then they can come back to what I'm doing, helping the classroom and things like that. As far as extrinsic motivations go, I feel like with kids that young, you still need some sort of like reward system, just because that's just how kids are. And so things like teacher versus class, like point system, and having like class parties, like getting them points and things like that to earn up and get these rewards, but it'd be as a class so that they learn to all work together and to help each other instead of it just being individual, so that there's not just like the constant like few kids who never get a reward and then there's always a few kids who do, but rather it's them working together as a whole class to get a reward. And then as far as interventions go, oh, nope. Just kidding. Coming over here to rules, a few of rules that I want to have in my classroom are things like follow the directions, be kind, be respectful, listen when the teacher's talking. But the students will help at the beginning of the school year. We'll come up with rules as a class, and they'll all give ideas, and then we'll vote on them, and then we'll have our class rules. And during that time too, we'll decide like what the behavior expectations are going to be and what the consequences are going to be if they break those rules. And then these are just a few things like different procedures, like what to do before school starts, how to get the teacher's attention to ask a question, how to ask to go to the bathroom, things like that. Just little things where we'll talk about it before at the beginning of the school year, like you need to raise your hand, wait till you're called on, things like that, just so the students are aware of that. And I also want to make sure to get to know each of my students too, just so I can kind of get to know their personal lives and see where they're coming from, things like that. And then as far as interventions go, when students are misbehaving, the first thing they'll get is a warning. I'll kind of go up and just be like, hey, like, just so you know, like, your behaviors, you need to fix your behavior. And then after that, then if it keeps happening, I'll meet with the student and kind of just say, hey, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Like, is what you're doing helping the class? And then talk with the student to help come up with a plan to help fix their behavior. And then we'll come up with the consequence too. So if the behavior keeps happening, then that'll be the next thing, is they'll get the consequence. And if it keeps happening and they get the consequence, then a note will go home, and then they'll have to go talk to the principal if it's becoming even more of a problem. So for example, if a student pushes another student in line, then I would just say, hey, like, that's your warning, like, just so you know, don't do that again. And then hopefully that behavior would stop. If a student's constantly tattling, I'd give them a warning, and then if they aren't stopping their behavior, then I would just say, okay, what's going on? Like, why is this a problem? And then we would talk about it and kind of talk about different, like, consequences if it happens again. And then the student would know and be aware, like, okay, if I tattle again, then I'm gonna have to do this, this, and this, right? And then as far as severe goes, like, a student is non-compliant in anything the teacher says to do. That would be if I give them a warning, talk to them, we'd had consequences, all of that had already happened, then a note would go home to parents, and then they would get sent to the principal's office if it kept happening and the behavior wasn't being fixed. And then something else is with bullying. There's bullying in my classroom, kind of the same process where, although we'd probably skip the warning and just go straight to, I would talk to the student and say, why, like, what's going on, why is this happening, and kind of try and figure out what's going on and why the bullying is happening, and then talking with the student and kind of explaining, like, first of all, like, why bullying is not okay, why we can't be bullying in our classroom, why we need to have a positive environment for everyone to feel safe, things like that, and then from there going on and having consequences and talking to parents and things like that. This is the classroom map, and it's actually upside down. I glued it in wrong, but so this is the front of the classroom. So there's like a whiteboard, like this is the door you come in, and then there's like the rug where the students will sit for like group work and things like that, or if I'm like teaching and like lecturing, that kind of a thing. And then their desks are right here. Over here on the side, there's like cupboards and storage and filing cabinets, and there's like the library down here with like that's just like a rug for students to sit on. Back here is a work table. It's like a circle table where I can do like small group lessons, or students can come and work with partners, things like that. And then over here is just more closets and storage spaces. But this works great for my teaching style because, number one, there's a lot of places for like group work and things like that. So like the front and this table back here. There's also, I like to be in and out with the students, and so I can kind of like weave in and out of their desks and see everyone. It also is very open, so I can see everything that's going on in the classroom. And then also, as far as if students that like need extra help, like they can go sit at the back table if they need a break or if they need extra help, things like that. And then in the back, there's just my class map, like narrative, and then philosophy paper, and then all the extra handouts that were given out in class. So that is my final project.